to Smartphone Summit TeamsTime special. I'm sitting here together with my friend Gilbert.
Hello.
We're having a chat. We're going to have a chat now with which I look forward to, which is with Sebastiaan Hoogstadt of Poly. And the subject of this session is meeting equality. And we just had a couple of talks about hybrid work and how that's changing the world that we live in. People work everywhere and all the time, etc. Now, I like to work, I like to take my calls when I'm walking the dog in the park. Let's talk about meeting equality. How do I make sure that everybody in such a call, including me, is, let's say, equal and we have an efficient conversation?
Let's take it a step back, Rob. I think there was a true remark this morning. Let's avoid talking about technology. I think that is critical here. We heard beautiful introductions on management and new ways of working by the guys from Detox and the sports consultant.
David, yeah.
Oh, I mean, that is the whole trick. I mean, I can talk with you about technology, but that's, as a matter of fact, the way we look at it, the way we try to drive it, technology becomes invisible. That's what I would like it to be, because it needs to be a facilitator. It needs to be an enabler of what it is that I try to accomplish. Right. Now, you asked me a question, how do I perhaps I should rephrase your question by, how can technology support this way of working that we are actually doing today? I liked the sense of earlier speakers today were saying, let's stop talking about hybrid working. I mean, it's just
work.
It's just work. And I mean, the statement we try to make is work is no longer a place. It's what you do, and which makes perfect sense. So you're walking your dog, you're doing your meetings. It depends, Rob. How do you do your meetings? Do you want to do them voice only? Well, then we can make sure that when you're walking your dog, nobody actually hears you walking your dog. You have your headset in. I was doing a meeting not too long ago on my race bike. Nobody can hear on my race bike. There's wind blowing in my face, but nobody will be able to hear that. So the trick is I can do the meeting, I can reach my objectives, and nobody is bothered by where I am or what I am doing at that particular moment. Is that the best way of doing a meeting? Well, I'm with you there. That's more of a debate. But from a technology perspective, we can absolutely support that.
And also explain, Rob, not to order coffee while he's on the phone, because then he does give away what he's doing.
Exactly.
But you're saying the meeting equality is then, on the one hand, it's the technology making sure that the other side doesn't know where you are, what you do, or unless it's video that is very much alive. But then do you also say that it's all about the balance, finding the balance there?
So let's split it in two things. Clearly, a meeting online or face-to-face still needs to be orchestrated, right? It needs to be led, there needs to be an objective. It's all the usual stuff that you learn in basic school running a meeting, right?
Well, but that's not how it has been for the past 2 years in many situations.
Well, I sure as hell hope that there's a meeting and an agenda, and if it's not there, you can ask yourself, why the heck am I in a meeting? Yes. One of your questions was, are people video tired? I can tell you they're meeting tired, but that's a different conversation. A Harvard Business Review years ago already said that knowledge workers today spend over 80% of their productive time in meetings. Well, is that the way to?
Is that productive?
Is that productive? So let's park that, and let's come back to your question. How can technology support hybrid working? Two things. Audio. Let's make sure that crackling noises, distracting noises disappear completely out of the conversation. That's one thing, and the other thing, and that is critical here. Today we build a meeting room. No longer just for the people inside the meeting room. Today we built it with somebody outside the meeting room in the back of our heads. That's quite a significant change that came to be since the last 2 years. That's a very important change, because what happens then, if the three of us are sitting here having a meeting and there's a fourth or fifth or sixth person dialing in, how can we make sure that those people not in the room actually have the same kind of engagement we have?
Is it then relevant that let's say, so in the meeting room you're taking measures there? Should the other person also be in a similar sort of meeting room, or can they be on the move?
Walking the dog.
Walking the dog.
Yes. So the answer is yes. It would help. Clearly.
Depending on my role in the meeting, of course, because I'm not doing everything
there you go.
with the dog.
So the answer is yes.
And then from the balance perspective, of course, okay, you have your meetings, they're remote, sometimes you're in the office, you need to have your coffee together to bond.
Yes.
At the same time, when you talk about meeting equality, you can also take one step beyond that and say, yeah, work equality, you don't need to be in the same country anymore.
Correct.
International working, fine, it's all supported in a similar way. Do you think that's possible, that going forward, that those boundaries are also gone?
Yes, but yes, and I think between you and me, it really depends on the type of organization you've been working in the last X years. I've been working in American organizations since 2006. Yeah. I mean, the moment I need something, I need to call the Americans or the Brits or the French or whatever, which means they are never in the office where I'm in, at least not on a daily basis, and you will be working across boundaries. Now, that will be happening more, not in every organization, but taking one step back, meeting equality, making sure that everybody around the table, here physically or not, is heard, seen the same way. That is the critical part, and then I don't care where you are.
Yeah. But then the balance is that it is recommended to use video.
Well, that really depends on what you want to achieve in the meeting. Let's be very honest here. If we have bigger meetings, not everybody is shown on the same screen. Is that an issue? Probably not.
No, perhaps not. But I mean, we're talking about the balance of the fact that meeting in person still adds a lot of value. Meeting at the coffee machine still adds a lot of value. See facial expressions and all. And when somebody's really remote, you don't have that. That ability is not there because of the distance. Then I can imagine that you say, well, finding the balance is indeed that all the different ways of communication should be in a sort of a bucket where you find a balance in what works best to create this company culture that people also are worried about, that it's kind of drifting away.
Correct. But that is, the guys from Detox gave a very clear guideline on that. Technology can only support what you actually support as a management, as a company. And that is very true.
Sebastiaan, we just had a previous session with Citrix talking about security of this new workplace that we now carry in our pockets. Now, Poly is in the process of getting acquired by HP, which is an IT equipment company. Poly, much more on the communication side, equipment.
Yes.
So if this goes through, and of course you never know in these sorts of situations, but in your mind, do you think this is logical that the communications and the IT components are coming together more because they are forming the total workplace
solution? So the answer is fully yes. And I think that whole shift started back in not so long ago, but back in 2015, when our friends from Microsoft launched Skype for Business. The vision started, we start doing our work and our communications from one place, which is your workplace. Right? So you can think of your workplace as a mobile phone, or I don't care. But the vision is we start doing communications from there. And if you pull that through, we see that speed up the development. We see Teams being adopted. We see other platforms being adopted. Communications from the desktop. Then merging a leader in desktop solutions, services with a leader in communication endpoints and services makes perfect sense.
And I think one of the challenges going forward will be the software side, right? In these devices, you mentioned the quality of the sound system. We could talk about cameras and framing and all that stuff. Very important going forward. Do you think that's going to be accelerated by this?
Well, as always, our functionality and the way people perceive the quality of a lot of our products is depending on the network or on the communication platform they're using. And if something is not working, it's always the Poly that is not working, but it might be Skype or Teams or Zoom that is not working. And that's so yes, those kind of infrastructure, quality of service remains critical.
So we don't have the time for it anymore, but indeed with international mobile, that was same thing. You need to have that high definition voice supported, otherwise it doesn't work. So
we're coming back to IT should be invisible and it should just work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good luck with that, and I look forward to the next steps.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you.